Salut YouTube, I hope that you guys are having a really nice week so far. Come, I invite you to share my misery. I mean, not really, but today's video is about the things that I really regret about my time in France or not having done during my time in France. And while I know that we should live life with no regrets, cue Edith Piaf, non, je ne regrette rien. But in all honesty, you know, the benefits of hindsight, I can also share with you guys the things that I wish I had done a little bit differently, or just things that I regret in general from my time in France. And by the way, if you're a Francophile watching this video and you're still not subscribed to Not Even French, what are you doing? Come and join the tribe. We would love to have you. We're talking all things French culture, language, and sometimes New Zealand culture, language too, every single week. Alrighty, so the first thing that I really regret from my time in France is not really making the most of the whole immersion experience to learn the French language. And what I mean by this is that I didn't really integrate myself into the day-to-day routines of reading the newspaper, watching French news, watching French TV, listening to the French radio. I think in this modern day of podcasts and Netflix and being able to access whatever media you like when you like, after a hard day at work, it was easy to default into English speaking Netflix and that kind of thing. And I honestly think if I had just immersed myself that one step further, because you guys know I was already working in English all day, if I just immersed myself that one step further and been dedicated and committed, I could have accelerated my French language learning so much. And that obviously opened your doors to, work opportunities in France, French friends, all of that kind of stuff. So what's actually kind of ironic is that I'm actually more committed now to watching French TV and series than I was back in France. But of course, I need a VPN to be able to do so. And I actually partnered up with NordVPN, who are my VPN provider, to bring you guys this video today. Because whether you are wanting to watch French TV or TV from any other country, maybe you're in France and you want to watch TV from the US or New Zealand, hey, I don't know. But either way, you would be able to with a VPN, because effectively what it does is it makes your computer think that it's based in that country currently. And so you can access all of the online TV programs and emissions that a local could. So at the moment, for example, I am currently watching my favorite French TV series, which is called 10% on the TV channel France 2. Essentially how it works is they have super fast servers. They have over 5,200 in 59 countries. So you can unlock Netflix and some of your other favorite entertainment websites. There's no data logging whatsoever. So it's nice and secure, and you can have 6 connections simultaneously at any one time, so you can share it around, share the love with family and friends as well. So if you do want to join me in using the VPN to access different languages and cultures, then definitely click the link down below, nordvpn.com/notevenfrench2, or you can just use the code notevenfrench2 at checkout to get a 2-year plan at a heavily discounted price, plus an additional month for free. It's less than $4 a month. It's super affordable, and you can literally access the entertainment and media of the world. So enjoy that one, guys. I know that I'm definitely enjoying my French TV series. And just on the French language learning as well, a big regret that I have is just being so damn shy and so, scared of how silly I sounded and making mistakes and that kind of thing. It took me so much longer to learn French than it should have. I don't know why I couldn't just get over myself. I guess just being insecure, not very confident. I don't know. It was a bit of a shame though, because honestly, if I could turn back time, make the mistakes, talk to people, yes, speak in French at work, even though you are trying to impress your colleagues or get stakeholder buy-in or something important that you feel, of course you feel much more comfortable, Rosie, in your native language, but just give it a go, because you're never gonna progress in your comfort zone. Now, the next big regret I have from my time in France is the French nationality. Whew. It's even quite hard for me to talk about, to be honest, because I was so close, so close. So essentially, in case you weren't following, what happened was you need to be living in France in general I mean, unless you tick other boxes, but for 5 years before you can apply for the French nationality, which of course gives you your French passport, European passport. I think this feels like an even bigger deal for non-European citizens like New Zealanders or Americans, for example, because it means you can live and work in Europe for the rest of your life and also pass down that nationality to your children and that kind of stuff as well. And I wanted it really bad. I'm not gonna lie, I really did. It was almost like, you know, 5 years in France, studied at a French institution, worked for French companies, dedicated all this time and energy to not even French, like the celebration of the French culture. Like, I just felt like I deserved it somehow. I spoke French, I ticked all the boxes for the application form, right? And so I submitted my French nationality application about 5.5 years after living in France. I was waiting to get some final paperwork, to lodge my taxes for one more time so that I had a really robust dossier, and I submitted it. Fast forward 6 months later, Niels came across this opportunity here in New Zealand. He pursued it, he got offered the job. I had already submitted my French nationality application, and it was a huge decision, guys. Honestly, like going between, you know, do we stay? I loved my job at L'Oreal. I had so many life projects on. I was doing not even French and just absolutely finding my feet. I had my nationality application on the go, but at the same time, you know, this opportunity felt a little bit now or never. These opportunities are so rare in New Zealand. Niels works in a very niche world, which is he's an engineer for wind turbines, and wind turbines aren't our greatest source of renewable energy in New Zealand. So we'd been sort of looking at the market for a few years just out of interest, and nothing had come up. And we were also sort of like, I mean, when in life is the timing ever perfect for two people to pack up their lives and move to the other side of the world? But what I haven't shared on this channel before is literally 1 week after moving to New Zealand, I received my invitation for my interview for the French nationality. And generally, as long as you have studied for it and you speak French, it's probably gonna happen. It takes time, but it's probably gonna happen. And yes, believe me, I looked into it. You have to be living in France for sure to be able to receive and then accept the French nationality. And even if you leave just like within the year after getting it, it can also come into question and stuff. So look, it's just not worth mucking around with things like that. It's not worth trying to trick anyone or get around it somehow, like, and get blacklisted from France. Like, no, that's not gonna happen. So I had to give that up. And so I had to give that up. I don't know. It's frustrating because I can still get the French nationality in a few years from now through marriage. So you have to be married to a French national for at least 3 years if you're living in France, or 5 years if you are living overseas, which can be reduced to 4 if the French person is registered on a French person living overseas register, which Niels is. So basically 4 years of marriage to apply for my French nationality. So, you know, I can do that in a few years, but it just doesn't feel the same because I didn't earn it. Like, it's not through me packing up my things, having no money to my name, like moving to a France I'd never seen or visited in my entire life, like doing the hard yards, learning the language, doing the studies. Like, those 6 years living in France were mine, you know? So it feels a little bit less cool, but hey, it's gonna happen all the same. My next regret is being a little bit reserved, I guess, with friendships. So I moved to France with Niels in mind. Yes, it was to study, but I obviously had Niels in mind. And I remember thinking to myself, hey, even if the relationship doesn't work out, at least I'll still get my master's degree out of this and then head back home. I didn't really know how long I would be in France. Every year it felt like a decision to stay. And I think there's a part of me that was a little bit scared to really go hard and invest in friendships and connections and everything over there, because I always felt a little bit like a satellite, or, you know, how long is this realistically gonna last? At least for the first few years, right? And so I could have done a better job of investing in friendships. And I think it sort of goes both ways. So I was reading about this, and there's actually an English writer in France, and she said that her biggest regret is not knowing how incredibly difficult it is to make friendships, genuine deep friendships with French women, and to make sure that she would be surrounding herself with expats and making sure that she chose a township that had a lot of international or expat women in it to really form those friendships, because it's really hard otherwise. And that does echo my experience of being in Paris as well. Like, there's the language thing, there's the fact that they don't need more friends. Like, you know, I'm sure it's the same in every country more or less, but it was really, really hard to crack into, you know, that circle of French women. In fact, most of my French friends are male, unless they sort of came through Niels. But I honestly just don't think now, looking back, that that's the right way to do things. Like, live each day as if that's your forever. Like, go hard, put your heart on the line. Like, no fear. Like, what's the point? Don't hold yourself back. If you want friends, make friends, you know? Keep going, have all the no's until you find your yes, you know? So I wish I had started my friendships earlier and had them for a bit longer, and maybe even have a few more really cherished friendships as well. By the time I left France, I had like 3 really best friends, and then quite a few friends and acquaintances and stuff like that. Like, I definitely was never lonely, but I would have liked to try even harder, I think, on that front. Another regret that I have, and I think we all probably have regrets like this now because of COVID, but it's just around traveling more. So I've always been quite sensible, and in the back of my mind I was always like, you want to own your own home, be sensible with your money, make sure you're saving, you know, grown-up stuff, right? And I wish I had made the most of more travel. I did travel to some amazing places like Scotland, England, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Italy, Barcelona and northern Spain. Like, I'm coming from a place of ultimate privilege. Like, don't feel sorry for my lack of travel. However, I do wish that I had seen every region of France, which I haven't. I do wish that I'd seen Le Côte d'Azur. The furthest I'd ever been is Cassis, down in the south, so I haven't seen Nice, I haven't seen Cannes, I haven't seen that beautiful coast there. Other places on my list like Biarritz, like Ile de Ré, like loads of destinations in France that I really wish I had just gone to for a weekend. Like, why didn't you do that? And then in proximity as well, like, I've never been to Venice or Rome. I've never been to Madrid. I haven't gone into Eastern Europe. Like, it just sort of seems crazy now. It's like, why didn't you make the most of it while you had it? And I think it's just always finding that balance of like, we can't do everything and see everything, but also it's probably just a little bit frugal, a little bit sensible. I had to save my money to come back to New Zealand every year and save a lot of leave, to be fair, to come back to New Zealand every year as well. But yeah, if I could turn back time, the places I would go. And the next regret is similar. Not that I necessarily would have done anything differently, but I do wish that I had lived in a French city that wasn't Paris. I do wish I knew how it felt to live in Bordeaux or Aix-en-Provence, because, you know, it may have changed my entire perception of France. And, you know, a lot of French people don't like Paris, and I want to live somewhere the French people like and see what life is like and see what feels different and that kind of stuff. And I definitely think you guys know that it's our dream to do 6 months in New Zealand, 6 months in France. I definitely think those will be the kinds of cities that we're targeting down in the south where Niels' family is, and I really can't wait to start having more of that experience as well. I think especially now that I have my own online business and I don't need to stress so much about finding that English speaking role, it's going to really change things, and I'm really excited for when we finally get to start doing that. My next regret is not pushing hard enough to have certain visitors come and visit me. You know, like when you move overseas, if you've done this before, you always have like friends and family members who are like, we're so coming to visit, like now is the time, what a great opportunity for us and stuff, and they just don't come. And I had my mum and my dad and my best friend come over, but I've got another best friend who I would have loved to have over. It's obviously a bit more complicated with family and stuff like that, but that would have been awesome. And also my brother and my sister, and yeah, there's just a small list of people who I'm like, gosh, I should have really pushed for that, or like somehow helped to make it happen, like go halves in the fare, like do whatever I needed to do to make it happen, because man, that would have been so cool. Like now we have no accommodation for them anyway in Paris, and just makes it that much harder, that much more expensive and stuff like that. So yeah, although I couldn't have known how long my time in Paris would have lasted, I also think that I could have pushed harder to make it happen as soon as possible. because you never know, right? And my final regret is that I wish I had captured my first 3 years in France. I started Not Even French about 3.5 years into my journey living there. This was not like a I've just arrived in France channel. And so I had to, go back and think about all the stories and memories and experiences and culture shocks as well that I had had in the past, as well as keeping you up to date. But there was just like this huge backlog of memories to work through first and foremost. And I think it's a shame that I didn't have Instagram for the first 3 years in France. It's crazy saying that out loud now. But the photos I should have taken, the footage I should have captured, not just in France, but all around Europe. Like, I have a handful of photos from countries that we visited, and on one hand I'm like, good, because you were just enjoying being there. But on the other hand, it would be nice to have some media to look back on. And I just wish I had had the guts to start Not Even French, like in my first weeks. Imagine where this channel would be now, what may have happened or not in life. Like, I hate to think about that. The only regret is starting sooner, right? But anyway. So guys, those are my biggest regrets from my time in France. I'd love to hear what you think about them down below. Do you think I should keep holding on to these regrets, or do you think I should just let it go? And have you ever experienced regrets after living somewhere and then leaving, and just having those things been like, I just wish I'd done that differently, or I just wish I had done that at all? I love hearing about your stories too, so please leave me a comment. I do get back to them as well. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you here next week on the Not Even French channel. A bientôt!